Suke! That's right, today we're going to be reviewing True Blood from HBO. True Blood has produced 5 seasons and they have 60 episodes out. True Blood's 6th season will be out fairly shortly, 2-3 weeks, something like that. And we're going to talk about the characters, who are like, what I think about the show, overviewing it. I'm not going to be reviewing episode by episode or plotline by plotline because that would be a series upon series of videos to produce 60 episodes after all. That takes a while to go through. Now, the show takes place in a small town, fictional town in Louisiana. It's created and produced by Alan Ball, and it's based on the Southern Vampire Mysteries by Charlene Harris. But it's not really based on that. What it's really based on is World of Darkness, Vampire the Masquerade, put out in the early 90s, 1991, I believe, by Mark Reinhagen, who created that. Good buddy of mine. And this show, to the point of almost plagiarism, is a bite off Vampire the Masquerade. They change words like Camarilla to Authority, words like Prince to King. And I can go through a really long list. Trust me, I've noticed them. And then they bring the whole World of Darkness aspect to it. They got the changelings, they got the werewolves, they got the changing breeds, they got the witches. You know, they got everything. Just pull the ghosts. You know, the race. They're all there. We haven't seen a mummy shamble out yet, but I'm sure it's coming. There's a whole bunch of problems with the show. All right. First of all, there is a huge level in the ability of the actors and actresses in the show. Some are really good, some are, and then there's some that are, ooh, you know, we're going to go through them, and we're going to talk about each one of them right here, just the way I always do. Now, what I want to do in the overview is kind of give you an idea. If you have never watched True Blood, this is why you should or why you shouldn't watch it. I'm going to present my opinions to you so that you can go, yes or no. It's, of course, episodic. That means you have to start at season 1, episode 1, and watch all of them in order. There's 60 episodes. It is a big investment of time. Each episode clocks in just under an hour, and they don't have commercials on them. So it's not like you're watching a show of Lost or something, and it's like 42 minutes, really, without the commercials in it. You know, if you get it off Netflix or buy the box set or whatever. True Blood. I'm sure there's going to be a season in here that contradicts me. I'm sure 1,000 of you are going to go, season 3. No. But overall, I think the series gets better with every season. Season 1, pretty weak, to be honest. So it's not going to be your usual, like, oh, well, you need to watch 2 or 3 or 4 episodes. You got to get through season 1. It's not terrible. It's not horrible. And if you like season 1 at all, you're really going to start enjoying the show as it starts opening up. There are better characters to come. There's more the better characters get more lines as well. Season 1, unfortunately, suffers from one word, and that word is, of course, Suke. Now, Anna Paquin, and this is the one I don't need to look up. She played Rogue in X-Men, and look, I just don't get it at all. I think she's a lousy actress. And I do not think she's pretty. At all. Like, I don't think she's ugly. I don't think she's, like, plain. Like, just, And as I go through, I'm going to tell you what kind of actress here is my taste. If she isn't, I'm sure for those of you out there that enjoy the Anna Paquin type, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. They're in that type. I can think of so many girls that, to me, are vastly better looking than her. Loads of them. And she's not, to me, she's a lousy actress. So, okay, if she wasn't that hot, but they still made her come across that way, that's fine if she has some good acting chops. But she doesn't. Like, I haven't seen her in anything else where I was like, oh, man, she really, this I didn't like, but, these other things, she really, really puts it over and knocks it in. She's just not very impressive to me, to be completely honest with you. So there's a lot of her, and there's a lot of Bill Compton, played by Stephen Moyer, which is kind of odd because I've heard out of character interviews with him. I think he's from England or somewhere like that. In fact, I can look it up and see where he is from. Yeah, he's from England. I thought he had an English accent. He's just not very good. I think a lot of the part might be the character there. I haven't seen him in anything else, so I can't really compare. But when they're in scenes, boy, you're begging for those scenes to be done. And unfortunately, they're pretty much all integral to, well, not all, but the majority of them, vast majority of them are going to be integral to the plots. She is a fairy, or a changeling, whatever, and she has this psychic powers. So she can like read people's minds and just like shut them out. And I think they kind of downplay that more and more as the seasons go by. But it's kind of prevalently there. You also have Sam Trammell, who plays Sam Merlot, another guy who I don't know. I haven't seen him in anything else I can think of, but his acting skills didn't impress me, and this wasn't. When he's in scenes, and a lot of it not just necessarily their acting, but some of these can be writing issues as well, and the way the character's written, or his choice to portray that character. You could see somebody in one show and go, "Oh, that guy wasn't that good," who'd have looked at Bryan Cranston in Malcolm in the Middle and go, "Wow, he's a fantastic actor," but then you see Breaking Bad, and then you have to bow down because that's outstanding acting. That's like a 10 with like multiple plus signs beside it. He scores perfect. But some of these guys on here, I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to be that harsh. But when Sam Merlot's in the seat on this show, I'm like, wasn't it bad enough I had to look through Snooki Stackhouse and Bill Compton in scenes? Now I got to watch some Sam Merlot action? Come on now. That's too much for me. Jason Stackhouse, he's a character that's very hit or miss. Some of his scenes and acting and antics are excellent. He's from, I think, Australia. Again, sounds completely different than the character. He's a pretty good actor. I wouldn't put him up there in the high echelons of the HBO Showtime crew, but it wouldn't surprise me if he gets another HBO or Showtime show after this one. Sometimes he has interesting writing. Sometimes his stuff is pretty boring. He's the character that's in the most flux in terms of whether you're going to like what he's doing or not through the course of the show. Like sometimes it's like, and sometimes he's pretty interesting. He's another one that gets caught into the periphery. The Snooki Stackhouse has the Spider-Man effect. Like everybody around her starts getting sucked into the vortex of supernaturality, and there's just too many supernatural characters associated with her, or the people that are associated with her have completely different supernatural events, like that don't have anything to do with her. Arlene Flowers and what is his name? Terry Belfort. The guy playing Terry Belfort, Todd Lowe, he does one of the better acting jobs of the show. His character's got the post-traumatic stress. He's from, I think he was in Desert Storm, and there they killed this guy. I think they burned him alive. Well, they killed him anyway, and this woman, I think it shot him. He's and the woman, puts a curse on him. They have this freak come and start burning all the guys up. But and they also had like a plot line where some ghost was like watching over the baby, and then she had another plot line where, I don't know, she thought the baby was evil. Like it's too much. Like they're just normal people, and normal people have like one supernatural event, but it's like it's like really like once a season, or like it's a little too much. Like the show definitely stretches credibility in a lot of ways, which is a downfall to it. It has. Sometimes it's more soap opera than drama. A lot of the ideas and the writing is a little too weak. They needed a stronger writing, and quite honestly, some of the casting decisions were not strong. With an HBO Showtime show, I'm sure they had a lot of actors and actresses that could get into it, and quite honestly, I think they made bad decisions. So I'm not talking about characters that I didn't quite like that much, but let me talk about one who is just great. Nelson Ellis, who plays Lafayette Reynolds, does a fantastic job. He plays a homosexual, sort of a drag queen-esque, not quite, but kind of going in that direction. I don't know quite how you might term that, but I think he does. I can't imagine the guy's actually homosexual. If someone knows if he is or not, write that in the comments, because I'd like to know, and I am too lazy to look that up. But I kind of have the feeling he isn't. When he does any of the love scenes with the guys in there, he just, to me, he seems strikingly heterosexual, which in that context isn't a good thing. You're supposed to think the guy's homosexual. So that's really the only kind of quibble I can have with his acting at all. Otherwise, I think he does a phenomenal job. He's funny. He's entertaining. He definitely has a lot of it factor, and I would be interested to see the guy like in a completely different role, something else. He's someone, if I was a HBO or Showtime board member or producer or whatever, he's one of the guys I would tag for their own show. Like they did with Dexter off of 6 Feet Under. They tagged him, they gave him his own show. He's a guy I'd recycle and put in a completely different role. And it could be any number of roles, but something different. I think I would really like to see him in something different. In fact, I probably need to look him up and go see something he's done because I might enjoy that. But he's deathly afraid of Eric Northman, who I'll get into him in a minute, but he's definitely afraid of the Eric character, and that comes across in scenes wonderfully. Like they don't just gloss over that. Like he's horrendously afraid of Eric, and I really like that. The vampires have a lot of powers. They have something called glamour, which is called Dominate Vampire the Masquerade, and they can fly. They have, I don't even know what they call them in the show, but it's celerity. They move around fast, and they're very strong. I'm trying to think, can they shape change? I don't think so. I don't think they give them that power. But they have they have some interesting powers, and the older they get, the more strength they get, the stronger their powers are. They had, gosh, I'm probably getting into the plot there, but the vampire they had that was like really old and crazy. I really liked him. I thought that guy did a great job. I should probably look up what his name was here, but it's not in front of me. So I'm just going to say he did a good job. The character, Eric Northman, probably my favorite character overall, played by Alexander Skarsgård, whose brother is in the show Vikings. It was just on the History Channel. He was also in the movie Zoolander. He's getting a lot of stuff. He may, it'll be interesting to see if he stays along TV lines or if he goes off. He's been in several movies now. I haven't watched any of them yet, but he plays Eric Northman, or he's Eric the Red. He's like a 1,000-year-old vampire, the father of Leif Erikson, and he has a lot of interesting backstory to go with that. He is more ruthless, and a lot of the show has to do with Bill Compton, Eric Northman's obsession for Sookie Stackhouse, and they're both trying to get up on her, and she has this fairy blood, and they're trying to drink that, and they're intoxicated by her fae blood. His fairy blood is like vampires just go crazy for it, and the fae don't like the vampires, of course. So she has a hold over them. They both have a hold over her. They have this whole love triangle thing going on, and it's interesting enough. The character has an interesting relationship with his I don't know if they call the child maid. They call him maker. The maker is the person that makes someone else a vampire. I don't know what the person they make is called in this, but again, it's part of the terminology that they cribbed from Vampire the Masquerade. The character Pam is, just find her name. Really, she does just a great job. Kristen Bar Van Straten, who is one of the actual Americans that's in this show. She was like a prostitute madam out in out west, and Eric Northman comes in there, finds him. He plays it's not the sheriff, is it? Sheriff is a vampire term. Maybe it's sheriff. I don't know. He has some rank title, at least at one point in it. They also have the girl, she was in 13. Her last name is Wood, but she was the queen, and I think Bill Compton is the king, but they have problems with the authority, and I don't know where they left off with that plot line. The Bill Compton aspects of the show are not the easiest for me to retain, as you might understand, as I have quite scathed the character, who I do not enjoy at all. Again, though, each season to me seems to be getting better. The show, part of it is political satire. A lot of it is about homosexuality, and the vampires. At the beginning is the plot line. They have this thing called True Blood, It's made by Louis Pasteur. Yes, that Louis Pasteur, who, surprise, surprise, is a vampire. I know. And there are a few other famous people that are vampires. But he makes True Blood, and it's artificial blood that you could just like get in a can. And they actually make real True Blood. I don't know what's in the real True Blood, but you could buy it as like a little merchandising tactic for the show, which is a good merchandising tactic. So they have the True Blood, and the vampires come out of the coffin. They're coming out of the coffin. And it's all over the show. There's just way too many very, very heavy-handed allusions to homosexuality and, coming out of the closet, of gay rights, of these sort of things, equality for homosexuals, which is a fine plot line to have in the show. It's fine political satire to have, but it's so heavy-handed. And political satire is horrible, regardless of what it is, when it's heavy-handed. You have to let it be seamless and natural, and have the person think, oh, look what I figured out, and then they like it. And that's the way it works. That's psychology. You can't make it that heavy-handed. Like they have a deal in the beginning when they have "Want to do bad things to you" song playing, which is a good song for it. However, Bloodletting by Concrete Blonde, I think, would have been the perfect theme song for the show. After you watch the video, you can look that up. I'm nearly certain it's going to be on YouTube. I think every song ever made is on YouTube somewhere, isn't it? But they have something that says "God hates fangs," and I mean it's just over and over and over and over and over. I mean, they're just hitting you over the head with it. It's like, enough. I get it. I don't care. Let's dial it back. You see what I'm saying? Let's dial it back a little bit. I think that they could have produced, if they'd taken that element and made it a lot more subtle, it could have produced something cool. Vampires themselves in the modern format, going back to Bram Stoker, the reason that they were written in the form they are is because you could not read about sex. The act of penetration, the vampire putting his fangs into the woman's neck, is sex. That's really what Bram Stoker was writing about when Dracula would penetrate a woman with his fangs. And Dracula had all the brides and he was after other women, and he would just penetrate them. That's sex. There's taboo. And the taboos are a wonderful thing. Taboos are restriction, and restriction, oddly enough, though it prevents art, it makes art flourish and creates art. It's, addition by subtraction, trying to find a way to circumnavigate the obstacle. When you have no obstacles, it makes things more difficult. So they're trying to take that same sort of tact, right? And probably a lot of people watching this didn't automatically know that's exactly what that is, the act of penetration. The vampire's teeth penetrating into the throat. The mythological context of European vampires varies substantially from what you see in the, in Camille or in Dracula, in those Gothic style of vampires. And that's what those are about. It's about sex. It's not what an actual vampire was. There are vampires all over Europe in mythology. Of course, all over everywhere. The vampires are absurdly prevalent in folklore mythology all over the world. And absurd amounts. We can go through list and list, but it's not a video of categorizing different things that could be considered vampires. The simple fact is, though, that limitation helped produce the vampire in its form, the sexy, seductive aristocrat of the night. Now, vampires in the modern connotation have themselves morphed to a larger homosexual aspect, which itself is fine, but when you already have that tool to work with in the bag of producing political and social commentary and parody and satire, you need to dial it back to kind of divorce, to pull away. Let those things be subtle. Don't use terms like coming out of the coffin. Don't say God hates fangs. It's way too obvious. The Church of the Sun. These things were too obvious. Like the show, okay, maybe it's simplistic and it's a little tongue-in-cheek, but those sort of political issues that are really interesting, hot-button political issues that people have very strong opinions for or against. And of course, then a lot of people that are in the middle and absolutely don't care. But when you present that in a more intelligent, artistic way, you produce a more interesting element to your show. When you anyone can hammer it over the head. That takes no writing skill at all. So I think that that's a huge failing of the show to attempt political satire in such an extremely open fashion, heavy-handed manner. So, besides that, though, let's talk about some of the characters. Let's see here. Who else? Who else have we not gone over? And of course, you know me. I'm all over the place, stream of consciousness, man. But let's talk about the werewolves. I thought that was odd that the werewolves were just people that turn into wolves, which I thought was kind of a bad idea because they had shapeshifters, which could do the same thing. So they step on each other. I don't know if making the man wolf form, that's probably a lot more costly in terms of special effects and money, and they may not have had that money to spend on this show. So I can understand not going that way. I don't know in the novels. Of course, I've never read one of the novels, and I never will. I don't know if they go that way or not. I know they've varied it a bit from the novels. As the Lafayette character, I think, was barely even in them, and he's of course become a prominent character. But he's so excellent. If they'd killed him off, they would have damaged the show substantially. Let me talk about if it's not Eric, that's my favorite. Eric and Lafayette are maybe almost tied for my favorite male character, but I have to go with Deborah Ann Wool, who plays Jessica Hamby. The problem with her character, I think she's like 10 years older than the character she plays. Of course, she's a vampire. Vampires don't age. People do. There's nothing you can do about that. When you're playing an immortal in a show that lasts, the same thing with Highlander or Q from Star Trek. They get a lot older looking. You just have to go, all right, man, we got to give you a pass. If you're going to watch it, you have to give them a pass on that because there's no way that they can keep people from aging. So, of course, they're trying there. She's fair-skinned, a redhead, which don't naturally show age all that well. She is, to me, beautiful. Like, beautiful. Like, she damn near hits a 10 on the scale of 1 to 10. And after that, after saying that, anything I say after that, how objective can it honestly be? But she is, I think, a good actress. But if she wasn't, you know what I'd say? I think she's a good actress. How would I know? Who could tell? But or the show episodes that she's in, the parts of the show she's in, to me are very good, and I think they should be much, much more of that. She has a lot of interesting aspects to her. She was a virgin before she was a vampire, so they talk about her hymen breaking and it constantly reknitting itself because vampires return to the state that they were in upon the time of that they were made, which again is of course completely pulled from Vampire the Masquerade. But she is very interesting because we see her going through that sort of adolescent aspect as a vampire. She rebels, she conforms, she confronts her old family, and they get a lot of great scene fodder from her, a lot of emotional aspect, some of the real drama of the show. But again, the show a lot of times is melodrama. It's as far as a soap opera as you're going to find on an HBO or Showtime show, and that's not a good thing. I'm not saying that in any way complimentary to the show, but overall, the texture, the tone, the theme, the mood of the show, they hit it all right. It's just they have weak writing at times and poor acting at times, and unbalanced acting. I think that Alexander Skarsgård is a pretty good actor. I think that Nelson Ellis is a very good actor. But Anna Paquin, come on now. Stephen Moyer, you got to be kidding me. Sam Trammell, no, absolutely not. Another one I don't think I talked about was Tara Thornton. Tina Wesley. She does a good job. Her character is very abrasive and acidic, and the character itself is kind of hard to like. But she does a good job on the show. She's a good actress, and as every episode, as the seasons go by, like there's more and more to like about the character. Eventually, she gets turned by Pam, who is made by Eric, into a vampire. So you have that whole aspect. One or two. She's very spunky, I guess you would say, and even that might even be too soft. That is too soft of a term. She is she's acidic at times, and she can actually be pretty funny. She's loyal. That's a good quality she has. She's had quite a horrible time with her mother. Her mother also, I have to dig out which character she is. her mother does a good job on the show. I think she's, I think she does a real good job of the supporting acting role when the times they bring her in. Now, have I talked about all? Oh, the other thing with Lafayette, he's got like a billion jobs in the show. He's like up there on the construction team. He's selling V's, running a porno site. He's a short order cook. Like, and he never has any money. I'm like, how does this guy not have money? How is he not loaded? He's constantly working, whether it's legal or illegal. V is a drug they have on the show, which is vampire blood. A lot of people get addicted to it. It's an incredible upper, and makes you much stronger, as you might imagine. A lot of this again they kind of took from Vampire the Masquerade, but it adds to the show. Chris Bauer's character, who is Andy Belfler, he was from The Wire. That he's a V addict in the show, and that really makes that's a lot about his character in there. He's the sheriff Belfler. His acting ability is much stronger than most of the other characters in the show, but he doesn't seem to like try to dominate scenes. He seems like he definitely tries to be more of a team player in acting. Some actors don't do that. Some actors will crush other actors in scenes, but he doesn't seem to try to do that. But his acting skills are notably better. To be fair, than the majority of the cast. Also, like I said, the Terry Belfler, who's his cousin, the Iraq War vet, Todd Lowe, he does a very good job on the show too. He's a very good actor. Trying to think of anyone else that particularly captivated me. The characters overall, though, tell pretty compelling stories. There's a lot of interesting stuff, and overall, think things make enough sense. There's always something going on. Like it's too big. The show kind of implodes on itself because it's got so much going on. There's so many, to the point of unbelievability. It's like out there in the middle of nowhere in Louisiana, all this is happening. What does the entire of the country or the world look like in this case? Does everybody have, X, Y, and Z living next door to them? What are there, like 5% of the population actually humans? It suffers substantially from creative problems. Okay, so let's sort of chop it up on social issues and a general overall. Okay, the show doesn't have, for an HBO show, the profanity level is low. So if that's a problem for you, if you're offended by profanity, that's not an issue for you. However, the nudity / sex is pretty high. It's not Spartacus high, but it's pretty high. I have heard people describe it as being softcore porn at times, and that's not a completely unfair. It doesn't quite go that far, to be honest, but there's a lot of it there. So that might be something that you need to take into account. If that's going to be upsetting or offensive to you, maybe not. I would definitely not say that. If you're going to watch it with a kid, there's going to be scenes where you're probably going to want to turn away. Overall, though, a kid could probably watch it. The supernatural elements of it aren't particularly scary. It's not like you're letting them watch Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween or something like that, which could quite honestly be a little traumatic. The vampires are pretty soft, pretty weak, and that could be a problem. They're not soft and weak to say like the Twilight point where you're going to go, oh, come on now, but they're at best maybe Dracula level. It's not really, the show itself isn't, I don't think anyone could really call it a horror show. It just has to do with supernatural elements. But a lot of shows like that are horrendously written and extraordinarily campy. So this show isn't that campy. And for the genre that it's in, it's pretty well written. Despite the fact I've knocked on it here quite a bit in the review, it's still pretty well written for the genre. If you look at stuff that's on like the WB or maybe NBC or something like that, the writing here, the acting here is substantially better. The character development is strong on the show. There's a lot of character development on the show, which is a plus. If anything, there's probably too much character development in the show. Like I said, there's some characters that are very good. Lafayette, Pam, Jessica, Eric, all very good characters. Andy Belfler, a very good character. Terry Bowfler, a very good character. But then there are weaker ones as well. So, and I know a lot of people, the character people seem to have the most varying on is Jason Stackhouse. Some people love him, some people don't like him at all. I'd like to hear from you. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Jason Stackhouse character, which of those camps you're in. I think most people I've talked to don't like Bill Compton or Sookie Stackhouse. If you like him, let me know why. Yeah, just let me know why. Yeah, let me know why. As I don't see it there. Overall, lots of homosexuality and even more allusions to it. That's extremely high in the show. So if that's something that's very problematic to you, that might not be the best show for you. It has a lot of the Christian churches are not portrayed in a positive light in the show either. If that's a problem for you, this show might be a problem for you. But on the other hand, if that's something you like, well, you'll probably enjoy the show more from that. They're showing us to be a very, very great levels of hypocrisy and so forth. That's all my show isn't about. Social values, and this is a review, so I'm just presenting what it is. I'm not going to tell you if I like that or if I don't like that, but just do what I'm saying, so you can kind of make your informed decision. There's a lot of shows out there, and to devote 60 hours to watching this is a lot of time. That's to watch the whole show would literally take you a couple of weeks, to go through. I mean, unless you sit there and watch, 10 episodes a day or something. But overall, I think the show is certainly worth watching. I would recommend it. I'm actually excited to see season 6. I'm not hugely excited. I'm like, oh, I gotta see it. There are shows out there that I like a lot more than True Blood, but it's a pretty good show. And if you only watch season 1 and you went, you might want to come back and watch season 2. It is better than season 1. Season 3 is better than season 2. I thought season 4 is better than season 3. So I think it keeps ramping upwards and, gets pretty good. And the large equation there is less Sookie Stackhouse, less Bill Compton, and certainly less of them together. God, together. They are horrible. So that's overall my review of True Blood. Let me know what you think. Let me know, how you like True Blood. And if for some reason you did not know that True Blood was based entirely off of World of Darkness by Mark Reinhagen, now you know.